I just want to warn you that some of what you're about to hear is very disturbing and vile. Listen at your own risk. Most people don't believe me when I tell them this story, but I can assure you everything I'm about to tell you is 100% true. This is my experience on the dark web, music. The story takes place at least 7 or 8 years ago. I visited the dark web or deep web or whatever you want to call it for the first time. I always knew about all the bad stuff there, and it intrigued me. My friend John was the one who told me about the dark web. He got me interested in it when he told me about all the crazy things you can find there. I remember him telling me about how he could find hitmen on the dark web and people who could hack almost anything you want, of course, for money. They offer services if you're willing, and I was told that basically you can find anything you want on the dark web, which I had never seen for myself. But John also told me about the scenes there that explicitly show videos of people being killed and sexually abused. Music. There's much worse there than you'd believe or not. Luckily, I didn't see things like that, but I'm sure I almost saw them, kidnapping victims and sex trafficking. I browsed this site that sells illegal drugs and weapons that you can buy with Bitcoin. This website is crazy. They have all kinds of weapons you can imagine, from small knives to damn rocket launchers. I don't like stuff like that. I was just really checking it out because it was very intriguing to me. Suddenly my computer froze. I'm not sure what to think of it other than it's just a coincidence. I didn't do it. I thought someone hacked my computer or something crazy. I restarted my PC and went back to the same website, and I got a message or a pop-up notification that appeared on my screen telling me to leave the site I was visiting. I dismissed it. I thought it was just spam or some dumb AI or virus. I kept scrolling, and within about 30 seconds, another message popped up on my screen. Music. Only this time my address was there. My fear froze me as I didn't know for how long, and my mouth dropped to the floor. I immediately turned off my PC and started to take deep breaths after that. I swore never to go back to the dark web again. Honestly, I didn't realize it was dangerous. About a week went by, and as I was getting ready for my day, I took a step out to go check the mail. When I got to the end of my long driveway entrance to peek into my mailbox unwillingly, I saw someone peeking back at me from a distance. It was broad daylight and still creepy. I live on a dirt road and all the houses are far and few between. He gave me a menacing smile and a friendly wave and went back inside. When I went back inside, I looked out the window of my main room, and the man was now at the end of the driveway staring right at where I stood before I saw him. He then waved and continued walking. It was very creepy, and now I'm extremely anxious. I then sorted through my mail, and I found that someone unknown had sent me something. I opened it, and what I saw was truly terrifying. There were dozens of photos of me doing various things. Among them were photos of me in my own home, mostly taken at night. There were photos of me having dinner while sitting on the living room sofa. Even photos of me in the bathroom enlarged to my private area. There were photos of me riding my bike in the grocery store. I mean, let's just say there was someone stalking me. I started panicking like any normal person would, and I talked to a few of my friends about what was happening, and they all agreed I should call the police. I didn't oppose it at all, but I was in a weird headspace and time seemed to slip away, and before you knew it, it was late in the day. I called my friend Matthew to come over for a walk because I was feeling a little better about the situation when a friend arrived. He thought I was crazy for not calling the police, but I didn't want to be too scared. I knew if I called the police, they wouldn't be able to do anything. Really. I wanted to catch this person red-handed. I finally installed surveillance cameras around my house the next day. Fast forward to around midnight, my friend was sleeping, and I was half dozing in the armchair, when suddenly I jolted out of my seat because of the loud sound of my living room window breaking, sending us both into fight or flight mode instinctively. We both ran to the window and looked out. but we didn't see anyone at the moment. We knew we had to call the police, so that's what we did. My actual fear became a reality when the police arrived and I saw there was nothing they could do. I gave them as much detail as I knew about the man, sketching him out earlier while checking the mail, as any potential clue would help. The man had long gone before the police arrived at the scene though, of course, and he was wearing some sort of black morph suit or bodysuit costume, so we didn't have a chance to see what he looked like. After that, I stayed anywhere but the house I rented until I could officially move into a new apartment. That's all I could manage at the time. I really thought he would have killed me if not. I've heard too many horror stories about the dark web and crazy kidnapping scenarios since then, and I swore to myself never to lurk on the dark web again after that. I often visit the dark web one night. I was there just browsing around various sites out of boredom. I stumbled upon this chat room where I met a guy named Andrew, and you and I ended up chatting for a while. We actually became pretty good friends over the months. We'd chat every day about random stuff like regular friends do, sending each other funny videos and memes all the time. He was just my internet friend and we got along well. It was just another average night for me, messing around on the computer and talking to Andrew and some other friends I met on the dark web. Then I noticed that Andrew sent me a link. I clicked on the link without really thinking much about it, with a big smile on my face, maybe hoping to see some silly meme video or something. It wasn't a meme at all. Something 1,000 times more horrifying and disturbing. What I saw is still very hard to get out of my mind to this day, especially now that I'm talking about it. The link took me to this live video where there was a woman tied up naked and an adult man wearing a black mask who I presumed kidnapped her. There were over 200 people watching this live streaming video. The man in the mask then asked everyone watching the stream to vote on how he should kill her. The choices were burning her alive, putting her in boiling water, bowling, cutting off all her limbs until blood comes out, or shooting her. The people ultimately chose to boil her alive. I took out my phone and started recording everything while trying my best to turn my face away from the screen. I've never felt panic like that in my life. Of course I panicked, and of course I wanted to document it on video with my phone to show to the police. I wanted to turn away when it happened, but every time I did, I found myself peeking back at the screen. It was very hard to watch, and I feel like seeing it damaged me mentally. But that was just one of the things that made it hard for me to turn away completely. It's hard to explain. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore, and I exited the dark web and completely shut down my computer. I even unplugged it from the wall, calling my friend whom I knew in real life to tell her about what happened. And she urged me not to call the police. She said I would risk getting into trouble if I reported it to the police, even though technically I didn't do anything wrong, and I could get in trouble just for witnessing the situation. I was already hesitant to call the police from the start, so I chose not to involve them. I'm not sure if they could do anything, and thinking back, I'm also not sure if Andrew was the one behind all of this. But I might never know because I haven't participated in the dark web since that ordeal. I don't know if he intentionally sent me that link or if he was hacked or something, but I'm not taking any chances. It's just to show you that you never know who you're talking to on the internet, and be very cautious on any layer of the internet, especially the dark web. I remember this story like it was yesterday. I used to live a fairly normal but boring life. I'd come home from work around 10:30 p.m. every night, and more often than not, By the time I got home, my wife was already asleep. The only time I could spend with her during the week was mostly on Saturdays, because usually Saturdays were my only day off. When I got home from work, I would usually eat and watch TV. If I didn't do that, I'd use my computer to play games or just browse the web. I was playing this game with my friend Daniel on this particular night. I don't remember what made us start talking about it, but at some point we started talking about the dark web. You know, I had heard about the deep web before, but I didn't know much about it. I'd heard a lot of bad things about it, though. You started telling me all about it, and I got really interested. You told me how to access it and that to get into the dark web, first I had to download something called Tor browser. After we finished playing video games, I started researching and reading more about the dark web online. I even searched on YouTube how to access it. My wife randomly woke up to use the bathroom while I was still on the computer, and she asked if I was going to bed. I told her I would be there soon. I took it as a sign that she wanted me to sleep with her, so I immediately shut down the computer and decided that I would do more research on it the next day. So that's what I did. The next day after work, I got home and immediately used the computer. My wife was asleep, so I spent all the time in the world on it. Curiosity was killing me. I finally managed to get into the dark web. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I had to be careful. And I remember what Daniel told me, that he told me not to trust anyone there, and especially not to click on any links that were not clear. I had been searching for a while and I found some pretty crazy sites. I won't bore you to death with all the details of what I wanted. Straight to what happened. I'm sure most of you know the kinds of things you can find on the dark web. After all, I was on this particular website where you could buy all kinds of illegal weapons. And suddenly I clicked on what I thought would be the next page listing all the other weapons. But it didn't take me to the website. Brand new site, and opened a new tab on my computer. Someone suddenly started sending me messages, and they immediately became hostile. Music. They started telling me that they were going to find me, and I had to stay and talk to them. We exchanged messages back and forth, and I couldn't stand this person's talk. I thought he was just a stupid kid on the internet trying to act tough. They threatened me and said they would kill me and my family if I didn't send them money right now. Of course, that made me angry. And I started replying to their messages by telling them that they didn't want any trouble with me, that they were joking, not funny. The unknown person then sent me a message with my address and real name. At this point, I seriously started panicking, telling me if I left and tried to leave the chat, he would make sure my family got it. And I quoted what they got. Then he said he would hack my computer and put disgusting and disturbing images of children on my computer. Computer that if I didn't listen to him, I would regret it. He asked for $2,000 in Bitcoin, of course. I didn't want to pay, but I felt like I had no choice. But I tried to shut it down. The dark web and the Tor browser list all together, but I wasn't allowed. He hacked my computer somehow. So I did the next best thing. I unplugged my computer from the wall, which of course immediately shut down my computer. I then turned the computer back on, and as soon as I reached the main screen, many pop-up images kept appearing on the screen. My computer repeatedly ignored me, no matter how many times I tried to exit it. More and more messages kept popping up before I had a chance to close all the messages. I didn't even want to talk about what I knew. I'll just let your imagination run wild. These pop-up messages contained very explicit and disturbing images. I started feeling really nauseous, and I began to experience a very serious panic attack. Then the chat request sound appeared. It was him again, the person I talked to earlier. He told me that I needed to send him the money or things would get much worse. I seriously debated doing it, but I couldn't bring myself to do it as much as I wanted to. I couldn't. I didn't believe him. Who's to say he would actually leave me alone if I sent him the money? I unplugged my computer again, and I never logged back into that computer again after that. This happened almost a decade ago. and it was the most disturbing and disgusting thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. I reported the situation to the police, but the police couldn't do anything. They seized my computer and never returned it to me. I also didn't stay in the same house anymore, but my family and I lived there for almost 2 years after that situation. No one ever showed up and tried to harm us, or anything that I'm not aware of. Furthermore, there were some unexplained things that happened. Although there were some nights where my wife and I heard someone knocking on the door, or even the bedroom window inside. Late at night, we never saw anyone, although I'm not sure if it had anything to do with the sick man who harassed me on the dark web, or if it was just random kids playing tricks on us like Ding Dong Ditch or whatever. To this day, I still don't know.